Quite a few big ifs around the West Coast Football Club, and unfortunately Andrew McClure wasn't able to get his first win as coach on the weekend. I think now the conversation has to turn to Oscar Allen and the compensation that they may or may not get. Now, whether the AFL like us talking about it or not, free agency and the secret herbs and spices that goes into the compensation has been used as a mechanism to help promote a team back up towards the middle part of the ladder, Damo.
That's fair to say.
These are some of the examples of the compensation that has gone over the years. So you just talked about Ben Mackay. You can see about 5 players down there. That was pick 3. The last pick 3 before that was Tom Lynch, who was a captain, a star of the Gold Coast Suns. James Frawley went and won a premiership at Hawthorn after leaving Melbourne. That was pick 3, and that was seen as at the time, Damo, as one of those situations.
Well, it was one of those occasions where they could make the formula be whatever they wanted it to be, Sam, because he wasn't getting paid of an amount at the new club, Hawthorn, to give Melbourne that pick, and that became Angus Brayshaw. So, to your point, the AFL can use its own systems this way, and I've got no doubt that West Coast, wherever it finishes on the ladder, will be able to get the pick, should Oscar Allen go as a free agent, immediately beneath it. So they could have picks.
Is that right, though, Damo?
No, it's not right, because I've never been clear on it, and I've had briefings about it. I've been given documentation around it, and it changes every year. Look at Joe Danaher, another celebrated one you just saw there. Now, initially, when he left Essendon to go to Brisbane, he signed a 3-year deal. Now, within 12 months of that deal being signed, the Lions added 2 years to it. Now, the compensation was awarded on the initial contract, which clearly was front-ended to make it appealing enough to have Joe Danaher as a pick for Essendon that was really good. And look, I've written about it regularly. Look, they don't like us talking about it. I'm not on my own in saying this, but that's just a reminder of how recent this was. And they, again, have supposedly cracked down on this loophole.
Well, they've changed the rule, haven't they?
Well, why do they need to in the first place?
They've said they've changed the rule. And for those of you who didn't follow it as closely, what Damo's saying is that they essentially gave Danaher a higher deal per year to make it a 3-year deal. And then as soon as so they get the compensation for Essendon, as soon as he signed, they gave him a 2-year extension. Now, the AFL cracked down on that, to Damo's point, because clubs have complained. But look, there's something that sits uncomfortably within me, that West Coast refused to see the cliff for years and years and years. They kept going to the well, kept going to the well. Now it's hit them like a ton of bricks, and they want to come back up the ladder. And I think they're going to be able to use Oscar Allen to do that. But I'm just not sure, Jimmy, that whoever ends up getting him is going to be paying the money that would dictate a pick 2.
You don't think he'll get paid a significant amount that it gets a first-round ban? And the point of it being is why they stick it behind your first pick if it's a first-round ban is to stop the bottom clubs being completely pillaged. So you can get those multiple picks. It's different when it's at the higher end, which then you can make the case at the other end. Clubs who are losing players and are premiers like the Lance Franklin one, you go, well, Hawthorn didn't get full value for Lance Franklin.
So what number, dollar-wise, needs to get picked 2, you think? Is it like close to $1 million?
Well, with the increase in the salary cap,
upwards of
it would have to be $1 million.
And I would have said at the start of the year, I was so positive about him saying, I'm handing that to Oscar Allen.
You'd write the cheque.
But right now I wouldn't. So that's where it's going to be really interesting to see what sort of footy he can play, because he's not worth $1 million right now. He's worth probably $650.
When this all flushes out, I'll be if he does go as a free agent, I'll be staggered if it doesn't come immediately after West Coast's pick.
Yeah, you can imagine Richmond, who have North Melbourne's pick, will be sitting there going like, this could cost us the kid that we want. They're going to get 1 and 2, and we're going to end up with 3 instead of 2. Anyway, there's lots to play out in that space. We mentioned Andrew McClure still searching for that first win, but he's looking for those green shoots. He's looking at the long-term view.
We're not looking for a short-term fix here. We're trying to build a way of playing and the behaviours that we think will win for a long period of time. So there's some little wins we're having along the way. We're judged by win-loss, I understand that, but we're getting a lot of experience that will help these guys, particularly our younger players, for a long period of time. And hopefully singing the songs not far around the corner.
They've thrown away a couple. They should have beaten Essendon. They were well up there. Obviously, that game on the weekend. They have St Kilda in Perth this week, which is another opportunity. But he's a human being, and he must be asking himself, when is that first win going to come from me? He's only human. Hope he's got some good support around him, because he's been in the system a long time, but a young, inexperienced coach, and he's trying to keep everybody else up. But he must be going home of a night going, when is this first win going to come?
And surely he's looking at the opposition they played and how quickly they can turn around and actually put hope back into the club. Of course, Richmond coming off those 3 premierships, they tried again a little bit with the experienced boys and were pretty brave. They moved quite a number on, got a stack of draft picks in through the door, and it'd be an exciting time to be watching the young Tigers go about it. You still got to add back Gibcus to Brown, Campbell, Fall, Banks, Armstrong, Lawler, Smiley, Trainer, Sims, McAuliffe, Tresize, Like, how exciting would that be for Richmond? And, of course, Adam Uze having all that young group come through together.
Yeah, they've got some pillars, haven't they, to build the next 10, 15 years around. And you can see
talent.
You can see that with kids going with numbers on their back, knowing who they're barracking for as they build back up the ladder.
And they seem to be prepared and training for moments that were in front of them against West Coast on the weekend, the close finishes.
Was that just another little drive-by?
Well, just saying, they've won 3 matches out of 9, Sam, and
I'm with you.
They are so far behind North Melbourne in planning.
They play each other this week, so we'll see.
The reverse Cruiser Cup, isn't it?
Yes, because it's
no tanking. They actually need the pick.
Yeah, because Richmond owns North Melbourne's pick.
Okay, geez, great start on Footy Classified.